Okay, I'm supposed to be happy. Yay! I'm looking a little stressed out. My kids' children said, but that's okay. I'm happy. So anyway, we're going into the first bin, the one I started just for an emergency bin. In the past, when I've done emergency bins for my family, because I've been a parent for 29 years almost now. This is not the first time I've done this. The first time I've done Fukushima radiation, but usually I would have an emergency thing for like maybe 2 bins, right? An emergency, and if I had to put it in the car and go, or if earthquake came and things got wiped out, I just pull out my 2 bins and so anyway, we're going to go into the first bin, the one before the meltdowns in Japan. So this is the food dehydrating. It's been sitting here. Some of it I'm actually kind of questionable about it, because in April I was dehydrating, and that's when the big rains came. And I'm pretty sure my family got a dose of radiation that was somewhat too high, because. Can you not do that?
Okay, I'm not going to see you with the bin.
But the chair will tip.
No, I'm okay. See?
Oh, God. My daughter's teetering on a corner of her chair with her foot on the counter to balance herself. Anyway, that's kind of how I feel about the food. It's a little iffy, right? Because I think initially in the beginning, here, let me pull it out. Initially in the beginning, there was no nuclear, accident. So here we got some zucchini. It looks like cabbage. This stuff I was dehydrating before the accident. And if you can see, these ones I bagged all up, and they're actually retaining their color. They seem to be doing very well. I mean, obviously there's lots of different types of food. This is probably a red pepper. We got green peppers in there. These are asparagus, and they smell like...
Hold it up to the camera so we can see, because I can see what it is on the camera.
Yeah, these are asparagus.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
nice color. They look nummy, actually.
We got some... Well, there's the seaweed again. This one's been sitting in the thing here for about 7 months for sure. And we got some ginger and tomatoes and stuff like that. Here we got some carrots and, bok choy. There's some bok choy in there. And we got the zucchini. That looks like some kind of a cabbage. Anyway, this is like for just... If you had to go and put it in your car and go. Or, 2 bins to my family for the most part. But since Japan radiation, I got very concerned about, massive food contamination. And I just wanted to buy my family some time in terms of if they had to, go to Brazil or something like that, at least they'd have some food to eat. Here's tea. My children like hot chocolate, and I'm pretty sure my daughter remembers, in any food emergency container bin, I've always had a thing of hot chocolate.
That is true.
Yeah, that is true. And then we've got... that's Tang for the vitamin C, brown sugars, so as you can see, I'll have to repack this, but that's okay because it's all going downstairs. This is, I don't know what this is. It's not labeled, but it looks good.
That's funny.
We got some duct tape, and then we've got some raisins and brown sugars and, baking soda for cleaning, some tunas, obviously. Here's another container. I don't know what's in this container. Something.
Maybe cream of wheat, maybe?
I don't know what that is, but anyway, it's packaged. We got, the skim milk. So I will put that all back in there. I'll pack it up nicely again. I'm pretty impressed with the vegetables. They retain their colors because they've been in here since March, April, and that's a long time here. Yeah. That's a long time, and as you can see, it's held up well. Now, mind you, it was in the dark, way off into the corner, kind of buried off to the side. Some of the food I am somewhat suspect in light of the rains that came in the middle of April, because in April, my family, we did all get sick. We got dehydrated for about 3 weeks. We got very, very sleepy. I and my other daughter got a bleeding nose. We got blood nose problems. Everybody lost their appetite. I have, at that time, 9 people in my house.
Including the baby lost his appetite.
Yeah, everybody. Everybody lost their appetite. Everybody got sleepy. Everybody got extremely, extremely dehydrated. Nobody wanted to eat. I got a nosebleed. My other daughter got a nosebleed. And in that days, there was such things called spring cleanup. So we were actually out in the rains in the middle of April when those torrent rains were coming down. And when I was dehydrating, I was afraid, that the radiation would sprinkle in from my vent that was going up, above my stove. So I used to hang a a towel to try and prevent, any
Catch the
particles
radiation.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? I'd probably put this at maybe 85% safe without being contaminated with any radiation.
That looks yummy.
So I started with this just as a basic emergency food, source in case of an earthquake or something like that.
Is that soup, Sissy? Lipton soup?
Yeah, Lipton soups.
That's
And
good.
just some little, oatmeals and stuff. But I think this is the sister mate to this one. So these ones are just like, okay, so this is that one. And then, of course, we've got the rices, a little bit of that. We've got the cereals. We've got the ketchup, of course, more raisins. I don't know what else is in this bin. We got a lot of food anyway. Some basic rice. There's oatmeal there, that type of thing. Normally, when I buy oatmeal, I buy like 10, 15 pounds at a time in the big bags. But for this situation, I decided just to buy it like that, easy to pack. And then it just kind of goes, there's more rice. And, oh, yes, and of course, now you're getting into the canned goods. You get canned vegetables. Obviously, my son has to carry this one down. So at the bottom of this, you're going to find a lot of, there's peas. There's, again, tuna, corn, tomatoes, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, and ketchup. Kids always like ketchup, right? So,
Yeah.
So, it's all going down. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. And this is asparagus. Asparagus was really cheap back in those days. This one's asparagus. This one looks like,
Broccoli?
that was broccoli. So that's broccoli, and that's asparagus.
So people can see that? You can see it.
Yeah. And then I'm just finishing up with this one, I guess. Again, I really got heavy on the rice when they were on sale. These ones are nicely. This is the way I prefer to.
Multigrain though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you're wanting to combat radiation poisoning, common sense tells you build up your immune system. So when I start cooking, I haven't done this yet. I mean, it's kind of late in building up our our immune systems. We should have been eating this from day one. We should have been eating this kind of stuff long before it even blew its stack, right? So, but my kids eat pretty good for the most part. But now that I'm putting this all away, they're going to find that their diet will probably involve, these types of rice, these heavy grains, and maybe something like
What
this.
is that? What is that?
This is it has
Like a food enhancer kind of thing?
well, you put it in drinks and stuff, but I think I'm going to sprinkle it on our rice after. You don't want to cook it because you kill the enzymes in it. It has live bacteria, right? So I think after you open it, you put it in the fridge. I hope so, because I've never put it in the fridge since I bought it. But I've never opened it either. But I think once you open them, you have to put them in the fridge because it keeps the enzymes and the bacteria alive, which is to help with the flora in your stomach, right?
So it's like a vitamin boost kind of thing.
It's got all the different multi vegetables in it, and the stuff that helps to build up your immune system and get rid of the, it's an antioxidant. It kills the cancer causing agents. It helps to put them at bay.
Oh, okay.
So as a food enhancer, you drink smoothies. I don't.
Yeah.
Okay. Kids are always coming. Oh, Mom, have you a smoothie? And I'm like,
True enough.
right? Yeah. But I can see myself maybe sprinkling this on my rice after I've cooked my rice and it's cooled down a bit. You wouldn't want to put this, not that I'm promoting the product. I'm not promoting the product. I'm promoting the concept, right?
Yeah.
I myself could see myself putting a tablespoon or a half a tablespoon or whatever it is on my rice after it cools down a bit, and then mixing it into my rice and eating this type of supplement. It's just like these things. Okay? This here is I don't know how to, chloral essence. This here has some of the same ingredients as this, only this is in a pill form, and this is like $50. That's crazy. For that little bottle, and the kids, they are taking it, so I try and remind them to take it. And this here was $70.
Wow.
I know. So, that's why I'm thinking to spread it out and make it fair for everybody versus putting it in a drink. I think at supper time, when you get your meal, after you put your soy sauce and all this other stuff on your rice that you like, right, then you can just sprinkle that in when it's not hot, because you don't want to cook it, because if you cook it...
Have you gone salad too, maybe?
You can try it. You can try it. Right? And then, of course, there's the calcium pills that were quite expensive, too. Right? And, because from my understanding, you know, the iodine and the calcium, these things, if you build up your immune system to fight off the radiation before it can implant itself into your bones, because your bones are already strong, then, you know, chances are you'll be able to fight off cancer. Unfortunately, though, we live in a province, and in this province that I live in, we don't seem to take bone care to be a very serious issue, because there are a lot of people out there in the province that I'm aware of, and statistically I'm sure it's quite high, where, you know, we don't help, you know, the lower income individuals or families so much with dental care like we did in the 1990s, right? And it's really bad, because a lot of people have tooth problems, and for various reasons, and there's no health care for them. And usually if the teeth are no good, then it, you know, starts to show an indication that the bone in the body is deteriorating rapidly before its time. So like in your case, you're 25 and half your teeth are falling out of your mouth prior to, you know, past methamphetamine and just not proper diet and blah blah blah. And then if you're going to throw in radiation, so what does mom do? She goes out and says, "Biden, you know, take these. I want you to take them 5 times a day, right? You know, like 5 pills at least a day."
Here I'm taking
right?
1 maybe.
Well, no, you're not supposed to though. So people that are high risk, you know, for bone loss, and including myself, because I'm getting into 50 now. I'll be 50 in like 3 months. So, you know, I should be thinking about that. But I'm not one to really take vitamins either. So, you know, my thing is, you know, I've done the work. I get to play with it now. I get to get creative with it now. It started off with 2 bins. You know, it's helped me to better expand on my horizon in terms of food choices. The kids like it when I take coconut milk and I mix it in with the brown rice. They just gobble it up, right? They love it. So I don't think I'm going to have too much of a problem. I mean, we as a family, over the years, I've fed my family, you know, I don't give them a lot of junk food. So, you know, making a transition where you're eating rice, brown rice of all things for children, you know, 5-7 times a week on top of the other grains that you might be eating and vegetables. I don't think that once I bring in that consistency, it would be hard to get my family going in that direction. What it is you want to, you know, as a parent, you want to instill it in them before you leave the planet so that they kind of follow the tradition, because I think that with more people wanting, you know, these big corporations wanting to do the mining of the uranium and all this other stuff that people do in a day, right? All this other stuff that people do in a day, but forget about that the uranium is eating the bones of the generation coming up, you know, through the ranks, because, you know, our politicians and governments, and, you know, regardless of what status, you know, federal, provincial, local, I mean, like, how can you have a whole generation of young people with their teeth falling out? So, you know, I'm embarrassed to say in my province, that's what I'm starting to see. It was never like that before. So maybe some of this can help to turn that around, you know. So we started off with 2 bins and we ended up with 15 and a whole bunch of other stuff, but we still got opportunity, and that's what counts. Peace out.